A lot of people on YouTube claim that they're going to help you reduce discomfort in your life. In this video, I'm going to show you how to increase it, starting with this musical opening.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now winning, better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything.
One thing that's ubiquitous across modern culture is the idea that people all want to avoid pain, avoid suffering, avoid discomfort. And there are valid reasons for that. In fact, as a prepper, that's one of the primary reasons why I prep, to try to avoid discomfort in the future. I have a large pantry to try to avoid the discomfort or suffering of being without food. I have lots of medical supplies for similar reasons. But there are many reasons why discomfort can actually be a benefit in your life. And in this video, I want to talk about 4 key reasons why it's important to not eliminate discomfort from your life entirely. But before I get into those 4 reasons, I want to rewind a bit and explain why I even think this is a relevant and really important topic to be talking about here on a preparedness channel. When people watch videos here on my channel, one of the big reasons that they're doing so is to try to prepare themselves for major events like a collapse, or minor events like short-term emergency situations. But the key idea is they want to prepare themselves, toughen themselves to a point where if a difficult situation like that emerged, they'd be able to deal with it. But oddly enough, one of the biggest criticisms that I get here on my channel is from people who are watching my videos and they're complaining about what I'm doing right now. Earlier I talked about there being 4 key things that we're going to be talking about, and a lot of you guys might be thinking, well, when's he going to get to the 4 things? Let's get to the 4 things. A lot of people have a lot of trouble listening to somebody talk in detail about context, with data backing up their thinking, with reasons for why they might be doing X, Y, or Z, or have any number of different points of view on a topic. And some people find that really uncomfortable to expose them to. It's kind of comical, I think, here on my channel when you have people that are getting ready for the end of the world, which would be long periods of boredom interspersed by brief moments of absolute terror, and they are even challenged by having to go through the pain and the suffering of listening to a guy like me, Praxis, talk longer than they might like. So I mean, there's a bit of comedy to that idea that it's like they're preparing for this and they can't even deal with this vanilla situation. It's like, oh, he's talking too much. So there's that kind of like comedy level to it. But if you think about what that is really representative of, is that in our modern Western way of life, people have just gotten so far away from the idea of being uncomfortable in any way, or being bored. Boredom is kind of a form of discomfort. People are so unaccustomed to enduring anything, even if it's just some guy talking, that they find it really challenging when they're ever faced with something like that. So I think this is a really important topic, whether you're a prepper or not, but specifically if you're a prepper and you're planning to endure the types of scenarios that you are talking about enduring. If you have trouble, if you're challenged, even listening to me, that this is just too painful for you, you really got to work on your ability to endure difficult situations, because I guarantee, as awful as this is right now, it'd be even worse in a collapse event. So it's important that you can tolerate the little discomforts so that when big discomforts come along, you're able to actually deal with them. So let's talk about those 4 key things. The first one, and it relates to what I've been talking about, is personal growth, personal development. It forces you to access parts of yourself that I think a lot of us forget that are there. I know for myself, whenever I'm working outside, I do a lot of construction. Right now I'm working on a chicken coop, pretty big chicken coop project. And it has been really hot and really humid and really sunny, and it's been fairly buggy here. And I'm working outside, and when you're doing carpentry, oftentimes you're focusing down at some lines that you're drawing on the lumber, or you're cutting or something like that, and I'll be so drenched in sweat that like the sweat will be literally pooling in my sunglasses every single time I tilt my head down. It's dripping off of the brim of my hat. I come inside the house and my clothes are just absolutely sopping wet with sweat, and it's really uncomfortable. But when I get into the house and realize that I faced all that discomfort and the work that I wanted to get done is now finished, it is a real sense of it gives me a real sense of accomplishment that I was able to go through this thing. And I know, dripping in sweat is nothing compared with a lot of the stuff that people talk about on preparedness channels, but it's a start. It's the idea that you went through something that was really uncomfortable and you're okay on the other side. And it gives you a lot of sense of accomplishment and a greater sense of what you can endure if in small ways like that, and that is a small way, in small ways in your daily life, you expose yourself to uncomfortable situations and you get through them and you realize, I can do it. The second reason I want to talk about why discomfort is important in our daily lives relates to the idea of character development, and it's kind of the flip side of what I just talked about. I just talked about the idea that you go through something and you get to the other side and you realize, I can do this. Well, the flip side is when you go through something and it doesn't really go that well, and I'm talking specifically in terms of your emotional reaction to uncomfortable situations. If you're in uncomfortable situations and they put you really on edge and everybody around you really knows that you're having difficulty dealing with the situation, that's a warning sign to you that you need to work on this. And it's really important to be able to work on your ability to work within discomfort and work within pain and work within suffering when the stakes aren't really that high. If you're going outside and there are bugs all around you and you are just like an SOB around to be around with everybody that you're interacting with, if you're at that level when there's just bugs around you, it's a sign to you that this is something you really need to work on, and so much better to learn that when the risk is just a few mosquito bites and maybe some irritated friends and family members than in a real emergency situation when you find out that you have a lot of trouble dealing with these types of situations, and the ramifications for not dealing with stress well in that situation could be far, far worse. The third reason for the importance of having discomfort in your life comes down to the idea of appreciating things and gratitude. If you live a constantly air-conditioned life where the climate is always controlled, it's never too hot, never too cold, never too humid, never too dry, when you are within that sort of situation, you kind of forget to appreciate it. If I go back to my earlier example where I'm outside, I'm working carpentry, and I'm just dripping in sweat, I come into the house, my clothes are sopping wet with sweat, frequently I'll take a shower after that, and never does a shower feel so wonderful as after you are just absolutely filthy and you are so uncomfortable, and then you go back to that kind of baseline of being comfortable and you really appreciate it in ways that you don't if you didn't have that discomfort. The same goes for camping. I know for myself, I'm getting a little bit older, and when I still go camping. I still go camping with my boy. And when I was younger, camping wasn't a lot about discomfort. Now that I'm older, I feel a lot more of those discomforts, but I still go through it, for my boy, but also for myself, because never do I appreciate my bed when I get home any more than I do after I've been sleeping on the ground for a week. Putting your body through those kinds of situations really makes you appreciate the little things that you have in your life, and it just makes your entire life seem so much more gifted. This isn't the worldview that I come from, but you guys know what I'm talking about when I say so much more blessed. You feel so many more blessings in your life when you expose yourself to being without those things, and when they come back, you really learn to appreciate those blessings in ways that are really difficult to do when you're not without them for some time. The fourth and last way that I think it's important to have discomfort and suffering and pain to some degree in your life, not in a masochistic way, of course, but just allowing yourself to be exposed to those things and not always shying away from them, is that it can be really inspiring to other people. When people see somebody suffering, Christianity built its entire faith system on the idea that there was this example of somebody that suffered for people. It can be really inspiring to people, and it can really motivate other people. Nothing motivates people who are following a leader like seeing that leader go through the same kind of suffering and discomfort as the people that are following them. So if you're looking to inspire other people and possibly get them to be greater than they otherwise might be, going through suffering yourself can be really inspirational to others. It can put your money where your mouth is. I think one of the big reasons why a lot of people are very reluctant to get into a lot of environmental initiatives in terms of, cut back on your fuel use, cut back on this, cut back on that to try to save resources, is that do our leaders do that? Do we see our leaders suffering in the ways that they ask us to suffer? Are they cutting back on their private jet trips to, all over the planet? Are they cutting back on the square footage of their own houses? No, largely leaders don't do that. I think if leaders did get down in the trenches and suffer with us, a lot of the average people would probably be more motivated to try to engage in this themselves as well if there wasn't so much hypocrisy coming down from the top. So in that way, being willing to suffer yourself can be a really strong symbol and a really strong motivator to others. And those are my top 4 reasons why I think that it's important to have pain, discomfort, suffering to some degree in your life. Again, I'm going to say it again, not in some sort of masochistic way where you are seeking it out and trying to expose yourself to it, but rather the opposite, which is to put yourself in situations where they have the potential for it and not shying away from it, not having it control your life, that you're always so afraid of discomfort that it makes you not want to watch videos by Practice Prepper because they're too long and they're just too painful for you to watch. Expose yourself to some difficult situations, and I guarantee the results may surprise you. Guarantee that they may surprise you. If you have any other tips, other benefits of discomfort, pain, and suffering in your life that you think are worth considering, leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to read your thoughts on it as well. Thanks for watching. Hey YouTube preppers, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I sometimes like to put comedy skits at the beginning of my videos. If you want to watch one of my comedy skits, it's probably one of the more painful ones that I've made. Check out this one right over here. If you're looking for pain and discomfort, I don't think you'll be disappointed.